Imagine a brilliant mind, so revolutionary that his ideas literally cost him his life at just, what, 38 years old? Yet, despite being sort of overlooked in mainstream thought, his insights quietly shaped centuries of wisdom, influencing giants of philosophy and spirituality. Have you ever felt that pull towards such a profound, ancient truth, one that feels overlooked despite its undeniable influence?
That's a perfect question, actually, because it truly happens more often than we probably realize. You uncover these incredibly insightful ideas from centuries past, and you just wonder, why aren't these more widely known? Even when you can see their quiet shaping of later thought, it's undeniable.
Absolutely. And that's precisely why we're here on the deep dive. Our mission, well, as always, is to dig into fascinating sources, pull out those vital insights, and transform complex information into clear understanding for you.
Yeah, think of it as your shortcut, maybe, to being genuinely well-informed, hopefully with a few surprising aha moments along the way.
Exactly. And today, we're actually continuing an extraordinary journey into the world of Shihab al-Din Yahya ibn Habash Suhrawardi. He's the profound founder of illuminationist philosophy. We're picking up right where we left off, delving deeper into his really remarkable ideas.
And for this deep dive, we're drawing from a really rich set of audio conversations from Ma'rifat. These feature two highly respected Iranian philosophers, Dr. Ibrahim Dinani and Dr. Ismail Manzouri Larijani. They offer just a truly unique lens into Suhrawardi's thought, one that really brings his ideas to life.
Now, before we properly jump in, a quick but important note for you.
Yes, this deep dive is a translation and reproduction of conversations with these Iranian philosophers. So some concepts or maybe details might not be fully conveyed just given the nature of translation. We do apologize in advance for any discrepancies you might notice.
But hopefully the core essence, the really captivating ideas, those will shine through.
That's the hope, yeah.
You know, it's striking how enigmatic Suhrawardi remains, even today. For someone so brilliant, so influential, he seems to stand just outside the main spotlight, doesn't he?
He really does. And tragically, martyred so young, just 36 or 38, something like 800 years ago, in Aleppo. And still, many people, unless they're in very specific academic circles, haven't truly heard of him. It's a real paradox for a thinker of his stature.
It is. He's commonly known as Sheikh al-Makbul, which means the slain master. But the philosophers in our sources, Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani, they argue quite passionately for Sheikh Shahid, meaning the martyr master, as a much more fitting title.
Yeah.
What's the shift there? What's the deeper meaning?
Well, what's fascinating here is that for them, it completely reframes his death. It's not just that he was, passively killed. Murder master implies he actively sacrificed his life for divine wisdom, for truth.
Ah, right.
It emphasizes his agency, his unwavering commitment to his insights, right up to the very end.
So it elevates his legacy from just being a victim to someone who truly embodied his wisdom and died for it. That reframe really deepens our understanding of his life and, well, his purpose.
Definitely.
And maybe this radical commitment to truth also explains another paradox surrounding his huge work, Hikmat al-Ishraq, or illuminationist wisdom.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you think of other major Islamic philosophers, right, like Avicenna or Mullah Sadra, their big works became foundational texts.
Right. Studied everywhere, part of the standard curriculum.
Exactly. But Suhrawardi's Hikmat al-Ishraq, it had a different kind of life, you could say.
How so?
It was hugely influential, no doubt, widely quoted, deeply engaged with. Later thinkers like Mullah Sadra wrote these massive commentaries on it, so it was clearly read and wrestled with. But the book itself, it rarely became a primary textbook in the standard academic path.
Huh. So students didn't typically start their philosophical journey by reading Hikmat al-Ishraq cover to cover.
Not usually, no. Influential, yes, but not foundational in quite the same way. It really highlights how distinctive his whole approach must have been.
That's incredibly interesting, which makes me wonder, okay, let's get to the core of that distinctiveness. He deliberately uses the word hikmat, wisdom, instead of falsafa, which is the usual term for philosophy. How is hikmat fundamentally different? Why does that choice matter so much?
That's exactly the right place to start, because his choice of hikmat over falsafa is incredibly deliberate and significant. Falsafa, as you know, it comes from the Greek philosophia, right? Lover of wisdom.
Right.
It generally implies this continuous, rational pursuit of knowledge, kind of an endless striving. Think of Socrates, always questioning, never claiming to fully possess the wisdom, just loving the quest for it. It's more about the intellectual journey itself.
The journey, maybe not necessarily the arrival point.
Exactly. Now, Hikmat. That word has deep roots in Islamic and Quranic tradition. God himself is called al-Hakim, the all-wise. So for Suhrawardi, Hikmat definitely includes rigorous rational investigation. I mean, he was a master logician.
Okay.
But crucially, it adds two more dimensions that aren't always front and center in a purely falsafa approach.
Two more dimensions. Okay, I'm intrigued. What are they?
So the first is what he calls itqan. This means firmness, precision, solidity.
Okay.
For Suhrawardi, truly wise thought isn't just speculation or, a clever idea. It has to be absolutely solid.
Yeah.
Free from illusion, backed by incredibly robust arguments. Think of it like building, I don't know, a perfect piece of furniture. No wobbly legs, no loose screws. It's solid, precise, flawless. Suhrawardi says true wisdom must be built with that same unwavering integrity. It should reflect the perfection of God's creation in its very structure.
Wow. So it's not just smart thinking. It has to be fundamentally sound, almost reflecting divine perfection in its clarity and rigor. That really raises the bar.
It does. And that leads directly to the second vital dimension, practical embodiment.
Living it, actually putting it into practice, not just talking about it.
Precisely. A true Hakim, a wise person in Suhrawardi's sense, doesn't just sit around contemplating deep thoughts in isolation. They must live by their core insights.
So their actions, their character.
Their whole way of being. It all has to reflect that profound understanding.
So it's not just knowing. It's fundamentally being wise. The knowledge has to permeate your whole life, like a dye coloring every fiber of who you are.
Exactly. It's not abstract. It's integrated. It connects thought, action, and, crucially for Suhrawardi, a deep, luminous spirituality. It's about embodying truth itself.
An integrated way of knowing and being where, light meets logic, as you said, that truly clarifies the depth he saw in Hikmat. And speaking of integration, that brings us to another really fascinating idea of his. This concept of the universe as a kitab, a book, and the need for a qaim, a custodian for it. Can you unpack that a bit? What did he mean by the universe as a book?
Yeah, this is a truly profound idea. His interpretation of kitab, a book, it goes way beyond just, paper and ink. He talks about existence having these four stages or layers of manifestation.
Okay.
So there's the external concrete thing itself, right? Like this table here. Then there's the concept of the table in your mind, the mental idea.
Got it. External.
Mental. Next is the spoken word saying table. And finally, the written word, T-A-B-L-E, external, mental, verbal, written.
Okay, those four stages make sense.
Now, here's the insightful twist. Suhrawardi takes that framework and applies it to the entire universe. The whole cosmos, he says, is a grand kitab, a cosmic book.
The whole universe is a book.
Yeah, it's a manifestation of God's knowledge, God's speech, God's creation, and it's all imbued with this fundamental wisdom.
So the universe itself is God's book. That's a staggering idea. It's kind of like the result of a divine act of writing or speaking it into existence, that Quranic idea of kun fayakun, be, and it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this vast book of creation, he argues, contains all knowledge within it. It's like the ultimate divine message encoded with wisdom, written for us to read.
Okay. So if the universe is this cosmic book filled with knowledge, then the qaim, you mentioned a custodian. Who is the custodian of this universal book?
Right. The qaim is the custodian, the sustainer, the one who helps us truly understand and reveals the meaning of this universal book. And this is where it gets really profound. Suhrawardi's insight is that the human being specifically serves as the Firis.
Firis, what's that mean?
It means the index or the table of contents for this entire cosmic book.
Wait, hang on. The human being is the table of contents for the universe. I'm just letting that sink in. The idea that we as humans are the index for the entire cosmos, that changes everything.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
So we contain a condensed version of reality within us. Is that it?
Exactly. Everything that exists in detail throughout creation, the physical world, the angelic realms, the divine attributes, it's all present in summary form within the human being.
Wow.
And that's why we have the capacity to discover and understand the universe.
Yeah.
We can only really grasp the cosmos because, in essence, a blueprint or an index of it already exists within us.
That's a truly amazing thought, but you said specifically the human being, implying maybe not just any human can access that fully.
That's the crucial clarification. Suhrawardi argues that only the perfect human, the insan kamil, who is exemplified by the prophets and the imams in the Islamic tradition, can truly be the qaim, the full custodian of existence.
It's a perfect human.
And in Suhrawardi's specific terminology, when he uses the word hakim, the truly wise person, he's actually referring to this perfect human. It's a much higher station than just being a philosopher in the usual sense.
That's a huge distinction. And how does the idea of the Mohammedan reality fit into this picture? Does it connect?
It connects directly, yeah. Suhrawardi links this concept of the perfect human as Qaim to the tradition of the Hakika Muhammadiyah, the Mohammedan reality. He draws on the sayings like, the first thing God created was the intellect, or the first thing God created was my light.
Oh, okay. That light, that intellect.
It's seen as an eternal, pre-cosmic reality, representing the ultimate, most complete manifestation of divine wisdom. And it supports the whole concept of Khatamiyat, the idea of the seal of prophethood, the final perfection of that wisdom.
So humanity holds this incredible potential within it, almost infinite in a way.
Immense potential. We're capable, as Suhrawardi and others say, of sinking lower than animals, but also of rising higher than the angels. That vast spectrum is uniquely human.
Right.
And what's unique to us, according to this view, is ethics, morality, and the capacity to consciously embody divine attributes. The phrase is mutakalik biakhlaq.
Striving to embody the divine virtues. So, like, if God is all compassionate, a perfect human would actively demonstrate immense compassion in their daily life.
Exactly. If God is the all-just, they would embody justice in our actions and decisions. You see this idea echoed beautifully in Rumi's poetry, or when Imam Ali is reported to have said, I am the speaking Quran.
I am the speaking Quran. That's incredibly powerful. It's about that human potential to fully embody divine wisdom, where humanity, in this perspective, is kind of the whole point of creation.
In a sense, yes.
Okay. This is all so incredibly deep, and it seems to lead us naturally toward what many consider Suhrawardi's most unique contribution, his singular focus on light. You mentioned the Mohammedan light, but he makes light central to his whole metaphysics, doesn't he? How does this contrast with, say, the Greek philosophical focus on existence? Why is light so fundamental for him?
Yes. This is absolutely central and truly where Suhrawardi makes his most distinctive mark, especially when you contrast it with the dominant Aristotelian tradition. His big assertion is that light, nur, was discussed as a primary foundational philosophical concept first in Iran, predating the Greek focus purely on being or existence.
So an Iranian emphasis on light versus a Greek emphasis on existence. That's a fundamental distinction right there.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this sets up the fundamental difference between Suhrawardi's philosophy, known as the primacy of light or asalat al-nur, and what someone like Mullah Sadra would later champion, the primacy of existence.
Light versus existence as the ultimate reality. Okay, unpack that a bit more.
What was fascinating is that even Mullah Sadra, when he tried to define existence, described it as something so fundamental, so self-evident, that it basically manifests itself and makes all other things manifest.
Right, existence just is and reveals things. It doesn't need anything else to show up.
Exactly. And Suhrawardi, coming earlier, essentially looked at that kind of description and said, hang on, that perfectly describes light. Light is inherently luminous. It reveals itself. You don't need another light to see light, right?
True.
And crucially, it's what makes everything else visible, manifest, perceivable. Without light, nothing else appears. So light is the fundamental condition for any kind of manifestation or appearance.
That makes a lot of intuitive sense, actually. When you put it that way, the definition of existence almost fits light better.
That's his argument. And he extends this beyond just physical light. It includes intellectual light understanding, grasping a concept. It includes perception, self-awareness. When you suddenly understand something difficult, we even say, the light dawned.
Yeah. It becomes illuminated, clear.
That language is deeply embedded in how we speak, isn't it? We talk about enlightenment, shedding light on a topic.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So for Suhrawardi, all these forms of knowing and being are forms of illumination. And this leads him straight to his concept of Nur al-Anwar, the light of lights.
The light of lights.
Yeah.
And that is God.
Precisely. Suhrawardi argues that existence as a concept is just that, an abstraction. The ultimate fundamental reality isn't existence, it's light. And he found support for this directly in the Quran. The most famous verse, of course, is Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth.
Right. It doesn't say Allah is the necessary existent or the prime mover. It says Allah is the light.
That's a crucial point for him. So for Suhrawardi, God is the self-manifesting light. And here's the key implication, the real mind bender. We perceive God through his own light.
Okay, say more about that.
It's not that we infer God's existence from looking at creation, like deducing a cause from an effect. Rather, his light is the very medium, the very condition that makes all perception and understanding possible, including the perception of himself.
So it flips the usual perspective.
Completely. It's a radical shift. It's
Yeah.
not about proving God exists based on the world. It's that Our very ability to perceive the world, to understand anything at all,
Yeah.
is only possible because we are already bathed in, participating in, God's self-manifesting light.
Wow.
The problem isn't the sun, is our eyes being closed, or maybe clouds blocking our view.
Yep.
The light is always there.
That makes so much more sense when you explain it that way. It's quite profound. And it's amazing, actually, that even Western philosophers much later, like Hegel, supposedly acknowledged something similar. He apparently wrote that real spirituality first entered history through ancient Iran precisely because of this emphasis on light as a fundamental metaphysical principle.
That's incredible, isn't it? And the sources indicate that this Iranian tradition focusing on light deeply influenced others too, like Abasha and al-Ghazali. They both wrote extensively on that Quranic verse of light, exploring its profound dimensions.
So the ultimate source of reality, understanding, clarity, it's all light, and that ultimate light is God. Okay. If that's the metaphysical picture, how does one actually attain this wisdom, this hikmat? Is it just about studying these ideas, or is there more to it? What's the path?
Ah, yes, the path. That's absolutely critical to understanding Suhrawardi. Where does Hikmat come from? Well, first and foremost, for him, it flows from the Quran and the teachings of the Al-Bayt, the household of the Prophet Muhammad. That's the primary, most direct source.
Okay, the core Islamic sources. But he wasn't closed off to other streams of knowledge, was he?
Exactly. He also saw wisdom in the Greek traditions, in the ancient Iranian traditions, Zoroastrianism, for example, but always interpreting them through his Islamic illuminationist lens. And significantly, he saw Sufi mystics as fellow travelers, people also journeying toward the same spring of light and wisdom.
So he's drawing from multiple streams, but integrating them into a cohesive whole.
That's the key, integration.
And how did he himself gain these insights? Was it all from books and logic?
He's quite explicit that much of his profound understanding didn't come just from reading books or from logical arguments alone. A huge part came through intuitive realization. He uses the term talk.
Talk. What does that mean?
It literally means tasting.
Tasting, like tasting food. That implies a direct, unmediated experience, doesn't it?
It does. It's an intuitive knowing you gain, often in solitude, through intense spiritual practice and discipline, what he called engaging in the maqamat, the spiritual stations. It's tasting the truth directly, not just thinking about it abstractly.
Right, like you know the sweetness of honey because you've tasted it, not just read a description.
Precisely. And for Suhrawardi, this is key. There was absolutely no separation or conflict between rigorous reason, philosophy, logic, which he mastered, and this intuitive knowing, this mystical experience. They must go hand in hand.
So it's not either, but a truly unified path. You don't just know something abstractly. You have to experience it, taste it, and be able to explain it logically, and then, as you said before, embody it. That combination feels incredibly rare and potent.
It truly is. And this leads directly to what Suhrawardi considered an absolutely essential practical requirement: the purification of the heart and soul, or tazkiyah.
Tazkiyah, purification.
It's paramount. He apparently gave this remarkable piece of advice. He said that anyone who hasn't undertaken a 40-day spiritual retreat, an arban, shouldn't even attempt to study his main work, Hikmat al-Ishraq.
Whoa! Hold on. A 40-day retreat just to be ready to start reading the book. That's intense. It really shows how seriously he took the inner preparation required to receive this kind of illuminated wisdom.
It truly does. You can't just approach it like any other academic text. The state of the reader matters profoundly. And this connects perfectly with traditions, like a saying attributed to Imam Jafar Sadiq, that wisdom is the light that God casts into the hearts of whomever he wills, often understood to mean purified hearts.
Ah, okay.
And that Quranic verse, he purifies them and teaches them the book, and the wisdom purification comes first. It's like you have to clean the mirror before it can properly reflect the light, right?
That classic analogy fits perfectly here. You need clarity within to perceive clarity without.
Exactly. And here's another crucial distinction he makes. For Suhrawardi, genuine understanding often comes from dik over fiqh.
Dhikr over fikr. So remembrance over thought, or maybe attention over intellect. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yes, I think so. Fikr is our usual intellectual thought, the analysis, the logic, the problem-solving we do. Important, but limited. Dhikr is far more profound than just simple remembrance or uttering words.
How so?
Think of it as a deep, sustained attention, an inner awareness that connects you to the true meaning of things, not just the surface level. It's like a true, profound reading of the Quran, grasping its inner spirit, not just reciting the letters.
Okay, I see.
The Quran itself instructs, Fasalu ala dhikr, ask the people of remembrance, or maybe people of attention. This is a al-Figr, the people of thought.
Interesting.
Now, every al-Abdikr, every person of deep attention, is also al-Figr, capable of thought, but not necessarily vice versa.
So a person who truly has this deep inner attention will also have intellectual capacity. But someone who only has intellectual thought might be missing that deeper connection, that dik. That's a powerful contrast, especially when we think about our modern world, which is so focused on fiqh, on intellectual advancement.
Exactly. Our world, you could argue, despite its incredible fikr, its scientific advancements, its technological progress, often lacks dik, this deep internal awareness, this connection to meaning. And this imbalance can lead to external progress without corresponding internal growth, or even sometimes a profound feeling of human smallness or alienation in the face of creation.
Right. We know more about things, but maybe feel less connected to them.
Perhaps. For Suhrawardi, fiqh and dhikr must be conjoined for true wisdom, for Hikmat. And because this wisdom is so profound and demands such inner preparation, its language is often symbolic and cryptic. It's not meant for the unpure or the unready who simply cannot understand it on its deeper levels.
So, like the Quran itself, which is said to have layers, expressions, allusions, subtleties, and profound truths, the language of a true hakim or a prophet, nabi, or a saint, wali, it also has multiple layers, and it's understood by those who themselves have developed their own inner layers, their own capacity for dhikr.
Precisely. You need the inner eye to see the inner meaning. And, circling back to where we started, his martyrdom at such a young age. According to our sources, it seems it was the tragic outcome of facing people, maybe dogmatic types, who just couldn't tolerate this unified vision he presented.
Because he brought it all together.
Yes, this seamless blend of deep spiritual wisdom, the doc, the tasting, and totally uncompromising reason, the burhan, the logical proof. He insisted on both. And for that synthesis, that refusal to separate heart and mind, spirituality and logic, he was, in a very real sense, a martyr for Hikmat.
What a journey this has been in this deep dive. Suhrawardi's vision. It's so integrated, isn't it? Hikmat isn't just theory for him. It's this deep, inner, intuitive tasting of truth, doc, totally infused with divine light, nur, flowing from God, the light of lights. And then critically, it demands that purification of the self, the taskiya, and finally, the living embodiment of that truth in everything you do, in your whole being. It's a complete package.
It really is a complete vision. And when you stop and think about Suhrawardi, the person, it's quite staggering, isn't it?
Yeah.
To achieve that level of insight, that mastery of so many different traditions, that depth of spiritual connection, and all by the age of, 36 or 38 when he was martyred.
It's almost hard to fathom that level of attainment so young. It really is.
And perhaps, maybe that youth itself is kind of a testament.
Yeah.
A testament to how this divine wisdom, this Hikmat, can sometimes just burst forth unexpectedly, powerfully, through certain individuals who are deeply connected to its source.
Illuminating things for us.
Yeah, illuminating insights in ways we're still trying to fully unpack and learn from, even now, 8 centuries later.
That is a truly powerful thought for you, the listener, to maybe reflect on. The enduring power of a wisdom that truly seems to transcend time, radiating from this figure whose light, though tragically cut short in his lifetime, continues to shine, and whose insights we are still exploring today. We really hope Suhrawardi's radiant perspective might shed some light on your own understanding, maybe your own journey. Until next time, stay curious.